offensive big department, and so I knew then that Bree Hall was going to have a lot of trouble. I figured that the only way that Bree Hall was going to make this very, very tight roster is if she was able to do something on the defensive end that nobody else could do. And I saw that she looked good against that Brazilian team, but I just had a gut feeling that it wasn't going to be enough. I definitely believe that Bree Hall has skills and talents that can be used on a WNBA roster. Will that be right now or this season? I don't know, because
anyway. I know. But I did have a question though with Indiana, right? Because even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players who, like Bree Hall, why wasn't she in that game per se? If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I was a little confused with what Steph was doing, but anyway, it is what it is.
Because you got to wonder if there's not something else that's motivating said comments. All right, just especially when you're talking about two young blonde-headed ladies on a basketball team, and you have a black player that just got cut, and Sheryl Swoopes is not happy about that.
Sheryl Swoopes just burst out of the WNBA vault like your grandma stumbling onto TikTok. Fierce, fabulous, and absolutely fed up. The trigger? Coach Stephanie White benched Bree Hall like she owed the team rent, while handing prime minutes to the surprise pick, Sophie Cunningham. Is this basketball, or did we accidentally tune into a primetime soap opera? Either way, grab your popcorn. Swoopes is on a warpath, and it's way more entertaining than your cousin's latest pyramid scheme pitch. So what actually went down? Let's break it apart.
Hey, Sheryl Swoopes, back in the news, getting pushback from fans, calling out Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, calling out Stephanie White. Oh, I don't know about coaching decisions, blah, 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 blah.
Sheryl Swoopes is back on the WNBA radar, and once again the smoke alarm is blaring. No fire in sight. Yep, she's mad again. This time, she's convinced that Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White is committing outright basketball crimes against humanity just for benching Bree Hall and giving Sophie Cunningham some minutes.
But to me, when I think about preseason, it really isn't so much for your players that you know are returning, the players that you know are going to make the team, but it's more about, I'm not sure about this particular player. Let me get her in a real life game situation and see how she handles that. But I'm also going to probably play her a few minutes with my starters, right? To see how that looks, how that works. Example,
someone get Sheryl a hobby, preferably one that doesn't involve rage scrolling the Fever roster like it's a personal attack. Now let's take a quick trip down memory lane. Remember last season when Caitlin Clark was out here smashing records, reviving the WNBA like it was her own renovation project, and dragging ESPN ratings out of the Stone Age? And Sheryl Swoopes just looked at all of that and said, not impressed. Because when it comes to giving credit, Swoopes acts like every compliment shaves 5 years off her life expectancy.
So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, like, first of all, black people can't be racist. But like, that's the farthest thing from my mind. I grew up in a very small West Texas town, predominantly white. My best childhood friend is white. Went to predominantly white college, won a national championship. Pretty much everyone on the team was white. Like, we're sisters to this day. Her breaking the record, I think obviously.
Caitlin Clark could literally part the Red Sea, and Swoopes would insist the wind did most of the work. After a brief silence, probably broken only by her yelling at the TV every time a Fever highlight flashed, she's back. And no, it's not to praise progress or cheer on the league. She's here to rage about Bree Hall getting cut. Bree Hall, who spent less time on the court than a broken scoreboard. But in Swoopes' mind, Bree is clearly the secret sauce holding the entire franchise together. Stats? Minutes? Matchups? Forget all that. Sheryl just knows.
This is what people don't want to forget to understand. Caitlin Clark is not just leading the country in scoring. She's leading the country in assists. So before people shit on her and say all she does is shoot the ball, she actually is the one dishing the ball too. She placed a record last week, and everyone is congratulating her.
Who did Stephanie White dare to play instead? Sophie Cunningham. You'd think Sophie had committed treason judging by Swoopes' reaction. Heaven forbid a coach make a basketball decision based on skill, fit, or, oh, I don't know, strategy. No. Clearly, it's all part of a vast, sinister anti-Brie conspiracy.
What do you have to say for yourself? Let's hear you.
But I did have a question though with Indiana, right? Because even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players who, like Brie Hall. Why wasn't she in that game per se? If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I was a little confused with what Steph was doing, but anyway, it is what it is.
You were a little confused with what Stephanie White was doing.
We've officially reached the point where if Swoopes disagrees with a play, it's no longer a coaching call, it's a moral failing. Plot twist. Stephanie White isn't coaching to please Sheryl Swoopes, she's coaching to win games. Wild concept, right? The WNBA isn't some reality show where Sheryl sits in a red chair, hitting a buzzer every time someone doesn't meet her personal standards. Honestly, it's impressive how consistently miserable Swoopes manages to be. You could hand her a bouquet of roses and she'd complain about the vase. She's the human embodiment of side-eye because let's face it, Swoopes hasn't liked anything since 2005. Every rising star gets her signature meh. Every coaching decision is dissected like a crime scene. And any player not crowned her pick of the month? Treated like they stole her parking spot. Meanwhile, while Sheryl's out here sharpening her pitchfork over Brie Hall, Caitlin Clark is doing what she always does. Leading, scoring, elevating the entire league. You'd think that might earn a bit of praise, or at least silence. But nope. Swoopes is the WNBA's unofficial noise machine. Doesn't matter the topic. If it's relevant, she's mad about it.
So, as expected, we've heard the old Sheryl Swoopes. We've heard the old Sheryl Swoopes talking about preseason, and obviously Caitlin Clark's a picture here because I'm not showing, we're just going to listen to it, but as expected, never anything positive with the Fever. Never anything positive. In fairness, actually, no, she did say the Fever have a chance of winning, but again, when she's talking about preseason in general, there's something about the Fever. So
if Stephanie White gives Sophie Cunningham a single minute on the court, Swoopes acts like someone keyed her car. Here's a wild idea. Maybe the head coach actually knows what she's doing. Stephanie White has more coaching experience than Sheryl has critiques in her Twitter drafts. But of course, Swoopes is on a mission to save the day, armed with hot takes and the unshakable belief that her opinion is law. And here's the kicker, the sheer irony. Swoopes built her career breaking barriers, shaking up the game and dominating unapologetically. Now, she's become the very thing she used to bulldoze on her way up. The gatekeeper wagging a finger every time something new happens. If Sheryl had her way, the WNBA would be stuck in a 1999 time capsule. No new players, no bold coaching moves, just the same recycled roster and a permanent asterisk next to every Caitlin Clark stat.